Whole season is just quietly disappearing and dissipating because of all these opt-outs and transfer portal. It's hard to judge a little bit here, but I think 7 points might not even be enough for Troy in this game. I would lay those points because this line's continuing to jump. When you look at this game here, the Blue Devils basically lost their entire team, including their head coach and starting quarterback. So two of the most critical pieces not to lose, they did. Mike Elko took the job at Texas A&M. Riley Leonard is heading to Notre Dame. The one silver lining for the Blue Devils is that their freshman quarterback who's going to start in this game, Grayson Loftus, has playing experience. He relieved Leonard earlier in the season when he suffered an ankle injury. So this is going to be his fourth start and his sixth appearance overall. Has 8 touchdowns, 3 picks on the season. We're going to see him make mistakes, and then Duke's going to be without 6 players as well on defense, including their 2 best pass rushers. Troy did lose their head coach, John Sumrall, accepted the Tulane job, but they didn't lose many players in the transfer portal, which is really rare for an 11-2 mid-major program that lost its head coach. The big dogs usually like to pick from these kind of schools, but they weren't really able to get many players from Troy. The one player who they're not going to have is Jaden McDonald. He's a linebacker, only player with experience who opted out for this game. So they basically have their whole unit there. They have an experienced quarterback in Gunnar Watson. They have a really good running back in Kamani Vidal. He was second in the nation in rushing yards. He had a field day in the Sun Belt Championship, ran for 233 yards with 5 touchdowns. So the fact that Duke doesn't have 6 defensive starters is not good news for them with a running back and a running game like the Troy Trojans have here. I think the experience and the hunger just favor Troy in this game. Duke's entering a rebuild. They have a new head coach. It really shows with their roster, and I would lay that touchdown with the Trojans. Yeah, so I think NIU does cover the 3, but my favorite play is Jalen Rayner to go under 230.5 passing yards. For them to cover 3 points, I think this really has to happen. Rayner at Arkansas State had an excellent freshman season. He had to be thrown into a starting role because of injuries and just poor play from the guys above him. Threw for 2,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. But he's going to have a difficult challenge against a really good NIU secondary on Saturday. The MAC isn't the best conference in college football. We know that. But the Huskies were dominant in the secondary. They had the best passing defense in the conference. They allowed just 165 yards per game through the air. And they're much worse against the run, too. So look for Arkansas State to come out and attack this area of the defense. They allowed 153 yards on the ground. Rayner hasn't been over this number consistently this season. He's gone under in 3 of his past 5 games. And there's still a lot of times when he's going to make those mistakes. And we should see this on Saturday against an experienced NIU defense. Players have opted out for both teams, but I think we're also going to see both teams go back to what they do best without some of their star players, and that is running the football. Northern Illinois' strength on offense is to run the ball. Should keep the clock moving on both sides here, keep the ball out of Rayner's hands and limit his production. So take the under of 230.5. Yeah, isn't it crazy the fact that Cam Rising was supposed to be the starter like every week of the season and he missed the entire year? So kind of crazy. I remember betting that first Utah game and like, is Rising going to play? Is Rising going to play? Like that was a serious discussion. Ended up missing the whole season here. Bryson Barnes is going to start a quarterback for them. One of a few quarterbacks who's played for the Utes this season. He has turnover issues. Barnes threw 12 touchdowns, turned it over 9 times this season, 7 picks in his past 5 games. He's going to make mistakes, especially without some of his offensive talent that he's used to having and throwing to. Additionally, this will be the last game he's at Utah before entering the transfer portal. So it's not like he's playing for a Utah legacy by any means. Utah didn't lose much on defense. That's a positive for them coming into this game. But Northwestern has a ton of upside. When we talk about adversity, no program has faced more adversity than Northwestern. Pat Fitzgerald was dismissed from the team after locker room accusations, but they won 4 of their final 5 games just to get to a bowl game. And they're going to a pretty big bowl in this one. They haven't been hit too hard by the transfer portal as well, which is very surprising considering all the issues they were dealing with in the season. They're going to start Ben Bryant at quarterback, really good signal caller there. And then they have their primary running back coming back in Cam Porter as well, their leading wide receiver in Cam Johnson. It's going to be tough to move the ball on Utah, but the momentum for the Wildcats is high, winning a lot of games down the stretch, and they have the talent to win individual matchups, especially going against Barnes. I see a few picks from him and Northwestern finding a way to cover in this game and potentially finding a way to pull off the upset. Yeah, James Madison, top 25 team, laying just a point to a point and a half against Air Force. That should just set the alarms off. You know they're depleted, and you know the Dukes lost a lot of players in the transfer portal. They lost 6 starters and rotational players on defense. Their 2 running backs, their starting quarterback, and their star receiver. Their head coach is on his way to Indiana. This is just simply too much production to replace, and the talent isn't there with the secondary guys on JMU after getting shredded in the portal. You know, every stat we have on JMU really has to be thrown out the window here. We know the young players can't compete with a talented Air Force team. Their quarterback, Zach Larrier, is healthy for the first time since November 11th. He's going to give the offense a new identity. He accounted for over 1,300 yards and went 8-1 as a starting quarterback this season. We haven't seen the Falcons play great football, completely down the stretch. They lost their final 4 games to end the season, but Larrier being back should give this offense some momentum. The defense has been fantastic this season, allowing under 18 points per game. If James Madison comes into this one and lights up the scoreboard, plays excellent defense without their star players, I'll tip my cap to him, but I simply just can't bet on them in this spot. I really think Air Force having their quarterback back, that's going to help them move the football on offense. And again, they're going to be up for this game. There's more motivation for them to come in to win this one than JMU with all their backup guys, who a lot of probably will still enter the transfer portal, a new head coach coming in here, a lot of new players coming into James Madison. So just not a spot I want to bet on the Dukes.